everyone, and welcome back to the STEAM Forward podcast. As always, I'm your host, Savannah, and today our guest is by the name of Ruth Thomasay. She's another one of our team members here at Trinity Church, and she works for one of the organizations called Plan B. She is a wonderful mom, and she has two beautiful daughters, and she is in school right now, so she's going to give us some background about her time in the military, as well as her education and schooling now, and some facts about teens. So everybody, help me welcome Ruth.
Welcome.
How you doing?
Hey, girl.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good.
Why am I acting so shy? You ain't shy.
Never.
So just give us some background about yourself. Are you a Miami native?
Well, just tell the world all about me. But yeah, I am born and raised in the county of Dade.
Real bad.
Yes. So yeah, elementary, middle, high school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the local schools that we actually go in and teach. I remember you said it earlier that our Plan B organization do go out to the different schools. But yes, I graduated from Miami Central. Shout out to the Rockets. Yes, and I want to say when I graduated high school, I went straight into the military. So initially, I applied to go to Howard University in D.C., at HBCU. And, unfortunately, they didn't accept me. And I was just like, okay, let me go into the military.
Was it you didn't have enough extracurricular?
It was really no real reason. They just didn't accept me. I met all the requirements. I had my GPA. Sometimes, it happens. My life, my plan was totally different because I'm sure if I would have went to Howard, a lot of the things and the woman who I am now, I would have never be who the woman I am now.
Absolutely.
So I joined the military, U.S. Army. Yeah, it was definitely an experience. I would say I can remember the first time I got to basic training and I cried like a baby. I'm like, what am I doing here? Why did I do this? And I called my mom and I said, can I come home? And my mom was like, well, you signed a contract. I'm like, dang it, that's right. I did sign a contract. So yeah, I think what happened was the heart attack hill. That's what we called. And that hill kind of took advantage of how much I needed to go back and run track.
Yeah.
So I did that. And, I was homesick. I'm from Miami. My family is very close and tight-knit. And being away from home, because I went to South Carolina for basic training, and being away from home, that's when I was like, okay, I miss my family. But joining the Army was, it helped me grow up. You had to grow up immediately. And around the time that I did join the military, of course, during that time we was in the Iraqi Royal Iraqi Enduring Freedom and all of these different things. So that kind of made me grow up into okay, you need to get this life thing together. I had fun. I made great friends in the Army. Great friends. Some stories that only us can relate to. Being a veteran, then you would know oh yeah, I remember this. Simple things get at parade rest. The front leaning rest position, which is the push-up position. I don't know, for some reason, being in the Army, there's weird names for exercises. Instead of saying jumping jacks, you say the side shuttle hop.
Yeah.
Help me understand that.
Yeah, my dad was in the Air Force, so when he would go to the PT, he would come back and explain some things. I said, excuse me? What are you talking about? It's a whole nother world.
A whole nother language that I had to understand. And I would say one of the funniest stories was when I was in basic training, and we had something called a SMART book, which is basically a condensed version of all of the Army regulations and rules. And so we had to read it, to catch up on it. So we stand in something we call the chow line, which is the dining line or whatever. And we would stand in the line, and I would just have my book open because I didn't want the drill sergeant to bother me. Random page. Was I studying the book? Absolutely not. But I had to make sure that I had that focus. You know how when you pretend to read a book you're focusing? That was the look I had, so the drill sergeant wouldn't ask me any question. And he goes up to me. He was like, "Private." And I'm like, "Yes, drill sergeant." He's like, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm reading my SMART book." So he takes it from me and he says, what were you reading? And I'm just like, oh man. And I give him this look, and then he's like, were you actually reading the book? And I'm like, do you want me to lie to you, Sergeant, or tell you the truth? He was like, Private, tell me the truth. And I was like, well, I was learning about, the M16 rifle. And he's like, this is about your uniform. Get to the back of the line. And I cried because I'm like, I'm so hungry. And this is dinner time. And during this time, we eat dinner at 5 o'clock. And no more, like, there's no snacks, no nothing. And I'm like going to bed hungry. And so basically, whoever's at the front of the line, you have the privilege of sitting down and eating longer.
Yeah.
So being that I had to go to the back, I literally had like 2 minutes, 2 bites.
Yeah.
Put 2 bites of the food. Drill sergeant looked at me and said, "You're done." What? Cried the whole time. And the whole time during basic training, he called me Private Tinkerbell.
I remember, now that I think about it, I remember my mom telling me when she was in basic training, she used to laugh a lot, like when they yelled at her. So, like, she find it like hysterical. She used to get in trouble all the time for laughing in their face.
I did, but like I would laugh and cry.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, Private Tinkerbell, which one are you going to do today? Are you going to cry? Or are you going to laugh? And I'm like, well, it depends on the mood. And they used to think like I'm always joking, but it's because it's like, I can't get mad. Like, I literally signed up for this, and it's like, I want to say it's like a game you have to play. Like, why are you so angry? They're literally trying to train you, especially during that time for war. They wanted you to be the best shape you can be mentally and physically, of course.
So did you get to live anywhere fun? I know we got some fun orders to Japan a couple times. So did you get to go anywhere?
I did. So I was stationed in North Carolina. I was stationed in Germany. I was there for 4 years. Germany was my best cultural duty station.
Right.
Because I got to experience different cultures. Mind you, I'm in another country. I don't speak German. Yeah. So I'm just imagining like how the communication was. But again, when you are placed in an area where the culture is different, you tend to adapt and learn the different languages or wherever you at. Right. So it's not like here in America they teach you the basic Spanish. No, being that I was there in Germany, I learned how to survive. I learned how to adapt. Yes, I know they have military bases on there, but unfortunately when I got there, the base was so full that I had no choice but to live outside of the base. So I had to communicate with my neighbor all the time, and they had to teach me about, how to properly recycle, because I would say in Europe, in Germany, they're really big on recycling and taking care of the country. So the grass is really green to the point where, me being an American, I'm just like, oh, the grass is so green, it looks fake. So no, they really were very big on recycling and how they would handle even trash. Like the trash didn't come 3 times out of the week like it does here. Over there, it came once every 2 weeks. So you had to know like what is actually trash. How do I save certain things? And they're really big on taking care of the environment, and also walking, a lot of walking and riding bikes. Literally, that's what they would do. You would barely see driving, especially on the countryside, but a lot of older people, they were up walking early in the morning, riding their bikes or whatever. So Germany was a fun duty station.
Sounds like it.
Yes, and I got to, of course, on the weekends, got to visit different places throughout Europe, London, Spain, Italy, France.
And fun's fun.
And Amsterdam. I went to Luxembourg. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. So yeah.
So if there's a student or a young adult that's watching and they're thinking about choosing the military as their career choice, how would you kind of coach them through that career choice to know that that's for them?
So first, I would say physically, you have to honestly prepare yourself, because it is a lot of physical activities or work that we did. So, we had to do something called 40K ruck marches, which is basically you carry this heavy load on your back for 40 kilometers. And, just different things that we had to do. We had to run every day. I remember when I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, we ran, I want to say every Monday, like 6 miles on a Monday. And, you just have to physically get ready. And as far as mentally getting ready, prepare yourself. Like the drill sergeants and even some of the sergeants that are there, they're not there to actually harm you unless, that's a different subject, but they're there to just make sure that you're prepared mentally, because remember, we are supposed to be disciplined. We are supposed to be prepared for a battle at all times, prepared that, hey, if the enemy comes after me, I know what to do, X, Y, and Z, based off of this training. So I would say prepare yourself mentally, know that they're not there to harm you, and also prepare yourself physically.
Wow. Okay. So now moving into your present life.
Oh, wow.
And you're working here at Plan B for the teen pregnancy prevention part of Plan B. Explain some things that you do.
So yeah, I am, wow, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm the program manager of the teen pregnancy prevention program. And I want to say a lot of the work that we do, again, is about educating the next generation. Right. And I'm a firm believer is that we want to apply whatever we are teaching them so that way they can apply it to their lives.
Kind of like your drill sergeant.
Literally. They taught me all of these things, but they had to put us in different scenarios so that way we can apply all of the skills that we teach. Unfortunately, with this thing called life, we only have it one time, So it's like, there are times we may not get it right, but if you have someone who is able to guide you, who has that wisdom to teach you the kind of things like, hey, I made this mistake, or hey, I've done the research about this, and I see that if teens are trained and educated in this, then they can apply the knowledge that you teach them. And it's simple. Be genuine. Actually care about what you do. If you know that, hey, I want to make an impact in my world, you can change it by literally impacting one student. So how you impact that one student, you actually have a genuine relationship with them. You talk to that student. You say, hey, I noticed that based on teens in this, from this age bracket to this age bracket, how they can stay safe, how they can apply the different knowledge, how they can't conform to just peer pressure, because peer pressure can make us do a lot of dumb things, something as simple as even vaping. So I know now that's like the new phenomenon that's kind of taken over this generation, and you have to educate yourself. You have to do the research. I went to a conference a couple weeks back, and they talked about vaping and how it's detrimental to the youth. And with vaping, there's a lot of additives that can be added on into the vape that we don't even know what they are. We don't, and it's like just to think about like rat poison or even fentanyl. Fentanyl is fatal, it's highly addictive, and literally you can take one. You can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't taste it, there's no difference. And so you take maybe a puff and it has fentanyl in it, you can die. So I just feel like we have to continue to educate our teens. And sometimes we have to repeat ourselves because repetition, like, it will stay in your brain. It will be instilled in your brain. Just as something as in the Army, we had to reply something we would say over and over called the Soldier's Creed. When I became a sergeant, I had to reply over and over something called the Non-Commissioned Officer Creed. So it's like different things. Repetition is what made it stick to my mind. Even now, I can remember some of even the cadences we were calling because this was something we kept doing. And I think if we continue to do it, and the teenagers, the students, the scholars, these kids' lives, then we can be able to move forward and change our future.
So we're just bettering and getting them ready for life.
I wish that when I was in school that I had a program like this, because sometimes as kids, we just want to be heard. And being that we're such in a great environment that, hey, I have an adult who's here to listen to me and to understand me and also give me wisdom. Because when you're a kid and you feel like you're being heard from an adult, you're more susceptible to listen whatever that adult tells you to do.
I think also from a non-judgmental place. Because I feel like us working for Plan B, that we do create this environment that's like, you can talk to me. This is a judgment-free zone about topics that you're probably not comfortable with talking to your parents about, like mental health, well-being, sexual risk avoidance, all kinds of those things. So yeah, the confidentiality behind it too.
That's the key word. That's the key word. Those are great, like non-judgmental and the confidentiality behind it. You know, of course, we have the rule where it's like, hey, if you're going to harm yourself, harm others, because that's for your safety. But it's about like you having that genuine relationship with the students, so that way you can better the future.
Yeah. So Ruth, what's next? I know you're in school and you're working towards a degree. So tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, I am in school. I am in FIU. Come on. And I am, wow, how should I put this? Like, I'm excited.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely nervous at the same time, because I want to excel. And I want to excel not only for me, but for my kids, but for the students. So that way they can see, like, hey, if Miss Ruth can do it, like, I can do it as well. And, you know, being that they're younger, I would want them to do it definitely when they're younger, because life happens more and more as you get older. You know, so it's like, I'm excited because I want to continue my education and I don't want it to stop here. One thing I learned from Beyonce, my favorite.
We love Beyonce.
Yes, we do. Is that you have to always be a student. If you're always a student, you're always learning. So it's like, it's always knowledge out there in the world that we can just take from everywhere. Like knowledge from Pastor Rich when he's preaching on Sundays at Trinity Church. Like, I'm grabbing little nuggets here, and I'm speaking to we have Andreas, our social media guy. He's telling me how to hold the camera to like do these different shots. And then, you know, I'm talking to Pastor David, giving me like IT information, talking to Natalie, and she's like, oh, you just have to sew it here, because it's like the fashion seamstress person. And even you, like, hey, this is how you do a simple thing. And so it's like, I'm always willing to be a student. And I want to say, like, being that I'm in FIU, I have to always continue to want to be a student and be excited about it. So my major is healthcare, so I'm always striving to learn. Learning is something that we do continuously, so you have to always be willing to be a student.
Yeah, I agree. Well, here at the Gen 2050 podcast, right, or the Steam Forward podcast that promotes Gen 2050, we always like to say learning is fun.
That's true.
So fun. But going back to school as you're older, do you find it harder than when you were younger?
Yes and no. So yes, I find it harder because I have more responsibilities. You know,
it's really time. It is for this all the time. Learning is the easy part. Finding the time.
And the thing is, you have to prioritize your time, because it's like, do I study or do I sit down and watch this Netflix show that I'm trying to binge? And it's like, if I watch this Netflix show I'm trying to binge, then that means it affects my grade. And I am very much a stickler about my grade now. You know, I want to say, you know, back then I was like, oh, whatever, it's okay. But if I get a C, I'm like, why? What did I do? What's going on here? But I would say, you know, my grades are very much important to me. So again, I strive hard. So any chance I get, like when I'm going through my phone, I'm literally like looking at different notes to study. No, I would say it's not, because again, in life you always have to be a student. So if you have that mindset that you're a student in life, then you know when you go to school you're a student.
You're capable of just being able to learn.
And honestly, I think no matter how old you are, how young you are, learning is something that you're going to do every single day. And it's true what they say, that you learn something new every single day. And if you didn't learn something new today, then who did you have around you? What did you read? What did you surround yourself with where you're not able to learn something new?
So what is the end goal? Like specifically maybe working with Plan B, what is your end goal? What is the goal for you with the students to strive for?
So The goal for me, I would say like it wouldn't be a goal. It's more so like I have to look at it as a journey.
Yeah.
Because Plan B, it shouldn't be a destination.
Right.
Because we should always be continuing to move forward, steam forward, you know? But yeah, we should always be, it should be a journey. So my journey here is for Plan B is to continue striving, continuing to do more research so that way we can find out where's the needs in these different communities in Miami-Dade County. And of course, if we can expand to Broward County, that would be great too. Where's the need in Broward County? But again, we have to change and focus sometimes on our own community before we can branch out and reach others. So I would say for Plan B goal, again, is to just continue to just move forward, strive to be better than we were yesterday. And, you know, for me personally, you know, I have financial goals, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm trying to get a Chanel bag. So in order for me to get a Chanel bag, I got to go ahead and get this degree. Continue on because school is important and I need that money because, you know, it's the 6 figures is what it's about. Yeah. Continue on your way to making that six figures.
That's why we're the color green.
Come on now.
Well, to wrap up this podcast, we like to end with the word of the day. So through the military, through working with Plan B, through your education, if you could just sum it up in one word, what would it be and why?
So I would say resilience.
Yeah.
Because I've had a lot of setbacks in my life, but I know that, hey, this is who I am. This setback is not who I actually am, but it's going to better me into a better person. So, yeah, I would say resilience.
And I can say that about you. You are very resilient.
Thanks, Brian.
Call you, friend. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Steam Forward podcast. As always, there's 2 sponsors that we love to thank, and that's Trinity Church and the Children's Trust. And don't forget that there are 3 ways in which you can listen or watch this podcast. If you like to listen, just follow us on Apple and Spotify. If you'd like to watch, just follow us on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up. Give us a review. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. And remember, this is the Steam Forward podcast. See you next week.
Steam Forward Podcast.